All right, guys, what is up? We are back with our live feed for you guys. As you're logging on, say hello, type in, tell me where you're coming from. As always, we give it a few minutes for people to get on, get their notifications into their little pings. Click on. Say hello, comment in, tell me where you're coming in live from. And as you're doing all that too, up here in the corner, we have our QR code for our Fit Model webinar. It's free. We do this once a month. This is our monthly free webinar. So scan that QR code and get onto the email list so that you can be in the webinar tomorrow. It is tomorrow for our webinar. We go over everything you need to know when it comes to Fit Model. And as always, we'll give it a few minutes for everybody to get logged on and settled in and get those notifications going. We always wait about 3 minutes or so. And like I said, say hello when you log on. Shoot in a comment. Say hi. Wow, we have Australia in the house today. Welcome. Japan, damn, we're in all sorts of different time zones this time. I love it. It's fantastic. Where's everybody else coming in from? We got Oregon. And like I said, as you guys are getting in here, we always wait about 3 minutes or so before we get started. And you can see our QR code up here in the corner. That is for our free Fit Model webinar tomorrow. Log on, learn everything you need to know when it comes to Fit Model division. Hi from the treadmill in Louisiana. I love that. I haven't been on a treadmill in months. Months and months and months and months. All right, well, we are a few minutes in here, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Tonight, we are going to wrap up the shows from this past weekend, and we're going to talk about the show coming up this weekend. The season is in full swing. It is rolling really, really quickly. We're getting a lot of Olympic qualifications coming out. Girls are competing week after week after week, fighting for those spots. So we're going to talk a little bit about our top fives from both Optimum and from Miami. And then we're going to talk about who could be on the lookout for Legion this coming weekend. All right. So before we get into this, like I said, Fit Model webinar right there. If you are curious about this division and you want to get involved, this is a great webinar to be on. It's free tomorrow. So go ahead and scan that QR code, get signed up. We got Sacramento, California. Welcome, welcome. So let's pull up. We are going to start with Optimum Classic. Now, I'm going to be fully transparent with you guys. I did not agree with some of this particular show. The judging did not agree with it. I can make arguments for most of it. I absolutely agree with the winner, with Eureka winning. But there were a few placings in here that just for me I wouldn't have gone that way, right? Well, what's up, Don? You're actually up. Amazing. You should be getting some sleep. You're deep in prep, right? I got to see the wrap-ups. I get it. You got to study too. You got to study. So, yeah. So Optimum is always one of those shows where it just is a little bit wonky sometimes. When I initially looked at the placings, I was really surprised to see how they played out. Because when you look at those, it's 14 girls in the lineup, right? You look at 13th place, Chantel, she's typically in the top 5. Marioli's typically in the top 5. Tiana's typically in the top 5. Sierra's typically in the top 5. And they're all in the bottom half of this, which I thought was really strange for me. So when I was looking through the pictures and stuff like that, again, I absolutely agree that Eureka should have won this. But there were a lot of people in here that I would have placed a little differently personally. So we're going to go through the top 5. I'm not going to get too labored on where I would have put people and things like that. But I'm just being really honest with you guys. I would have judged this a little bit differently. So let's start with 5th place, which is, I don't even know, Lang Shi-hee. I'm not familiar with her. Looking at her past, you know, like she was here in Pittsburgh. She didn't place in Pittsburgh. Her last pro show in China, she was 3rd there. I don't know what that lineup looked like, but I'm just not familiar with her at all. So let's take a look at her pictures. We're going to look at a front and back pose, and we'll do a little evaluating here. Okay, so front pose. Overall, conditioning looks good. Shape is decent. To me, she just lacks a little bit of a flow. Her torso looks a little bit long to me. She's not a big girl, like she's not a tall girl or anything like that. But this is there's just something off with the flow here that I'm looking at. And I think it has to do with the way she's posing in this front pose. I don't think it's bad. I just think there's something a little bit off. I think if she twisted her hips a little bit differently, opened up a little bit differently, you know, I use the concept of, Latoya Watts. We used to always talk about her when she was competing. She's a figure Olympia winner, that she was a collection of parts, right? To me, this physique looks like a collection of parts. There's missing something with the flow. So again, nothing really wrong here. We just need a little bit of a better flow. And I think that has to do with her posing probably more than anything else here. And again, I can't really put my finger on it. I would just want to see her move around a little bit and kind of see where it could be tweaked. Here's her back shot. Just lacking flow. To me, her legs are a bit overpowering in comparison to her glutes. She's got some good pop. Conditioning is really good. But we're just seeing like again, body parts, right? Versus the flow. So again, nothing really wrong with this. Nothing really bad about this at all. She's got some good projection to her glutes and everything like that. I just like to see the flow a little bit better. And I do think her quads are a little bit overpowering on the outside of her glutes here. I'd also like to see her bring her hands down a little bit on that back pose. They're hiked up too high with her elbows poking out. So yeah, there's just, again, flow. There's just something wrong with the flow here. There's some posing things that need to be fixed, some physique things that need to be kind of molded a little bit differently, shaped a little bit differently. She's looking like a collection of parts to me. Again, that's not a bad thing. It's just we got to figure out, you know, where that flow needs to kind of come together a little bit better for her. And that's what I would say in that regard. Next up, we have Holly. I was going to say Brittany. It's not Brittany. It's Holly Baxter. So this is one I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys. I did not agree with this placing. I just didn't. She's got a great physique again, but when you look at her in the lineup, and I've seen video from the show, she just did not fit with the rest of the physiques on that stage. I don't really know what happened here. She is very, very conditioned, incredibly hard. When you look at her, I mean, she's got feathering in her striations in her shoulders, feathering in her quads, really, really dense. I don't know. She just didn't fit. She didn't fit with everybody else in that first line, in that first call out. Very conditioned. Shape is great from the front. But she's just too hard. This is way too hard. This conditioning is way too hard for bikini, in my opinion. So this is what I'm going to tell you. I just didn't agree with it. Didn't agree with the placing. we can put up her back shot. Where is her back shot? There it is. So again, from the back, is it going to share or not? There we go. Okay. From the back, again, way too hard. She's got those sharp tie-ins, and I mean, she's got no differentiation between her glutes and her legs. She needs more glutes. These are really, in comparison to everybody else in that first call out, her glutes are really small in comparison. She's pinching off her back and her upper body. There's just a lot of things here that I didn't agree with this placing. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. I didn't agree with her being in this position. This is kind of how she looks typically when she gets on stage. So I'm not surprised by this look. I was just surprised that she was in this actual placing. So, it was Gary Yuta head judging this show. And next up, we have Kiki. So Kiki has been rising in the ranks. She's been placing top 5, top 3, pretty much every show she's in, outside of just a couple. So I do think that she is doing better every time she gets up there. Now, this particular shot, I think her front pose is a little bit off here. But you can see her conditioning is much, much fuller than Holly that we were just talking about. She's a lot rounder. She's a lot fuller, a lot bubblier, that kind of thing. So this is more bikini conditioning right here. Okay. This front pose to me, she looks like she's pulling back a little bit. It just could be an in-between shot or something like that they caught. But I would just kind of relax the upper body a little bit here in this front pose. But other than that, not a bad shot at all. And we got her back pose. So here's the difference too that we're talking about between like Holly and Kiki. So in comparison, when you look at Holly versus Kiki's glutes, right? Kiki's got some tanning issues, first of all. I'm going to say that right now. She's got some splotchiness on her glutes, so that's something that needs to be addressed. But when you look at her glutes, she doesn't have the biggest glutes on stage, but she has projection, right? There's a difference between her glutes and her legs versus we did not see that in Holly, right? So this is more, again, bikini conditioning, the projection, the fullness. This is much more in line with the criteria. So this I agree with. I agree with this placing. I think this is where this should be. You can also see with her hamstring tie-ins, though they're not sharp versus Holly's. They were very sharp. She's got that nice broad width through her upper body. Again, Holly was closed off on her back pose. There's just a lot of things. It's like almost exact opposites between these two physiques, right? And Kiki is definitely more in line with the judging criteria than Holly was. So yeah, I think this was a great package for Kiki, actually. She just needs to be careful of the tanning a little bit here. The issue with Kiki is really she just doesn't have a very good structure as far as she's got a very short torso. So she's got to really over pose to correct for her shortness of her torso. She's doing a good job, but it's just hard when you come up against girls that are just genetically put together better. Then we have Brianna. So Brianna was in second. This was a good package for her too. Let's find a front pose. She's been doing very well this season. So from the front, the biggest thing that I would say is that she's got to tone down the upper body. She's got a lot of vascularity in the shoulders and in the biceps. I think from the waistline down, she looks great. I think the upper body just needs to be brought down. What I see here is I see delt and I see shoulder and bicep veins, right? So to me, that's a big knock. That would be the one thing that I would say needs to change here, her overall look from the front. I know she's the last few shows I've talked about, her conditioning has been a little bit too hard. This does look a little bit fuller. I do like her conditioning better here. But I would just say the upper body is just a little bit too much for bikini at this point. And then when we look at the back pose, see, here's the problem when we're talking about trying to control that conditioning, because from the back, she's a little bit too soft, right? She's got really good projection on those glutes. but you can see it's almost like she's got almost a little bit of film of water or body fat that goes between that hamstring tie-in and her hamstrings and her glutes. So the problem is you come in tight enough from the back, then you're going to be too hard from the front. So I think she just needs to work on building some more density in the glutes so that she can get tighter without being overly conditioned from the front. Great shape from the back. Just has to work on being able to balance that conditioning a little bit better. Yeah, and I think what that is it's not really a dialing in kind of thing. It's okay, she needs to bring her upper body down a little bit, and she needs to bring her glute density up a little bit so they can balance that conditioning when she actually leans out. That's really the only way to kind of fix that. And then your winner was Eureka, which I completely agree with this. So at the end of the day, I may think that there's some wrong placings from, second all the way down to the bottom, but they don't really matter because none of them actually qualify for the Olympia. What does matter is who wins that day. So I did agree with Eureka winning. Now, when you look at Eureka, you can just see this is a really pretty shape. Overall, her shape, top to bottom, is just beautiful, right? Nice, full, round shoulders, but she's not vascular. She's not too hard. She's not too dense. Her waistline's nice and tight. This is definitely an improved Eureka from what I've seen in the past. I really liked this particular look on her. Again, she looks round and full and bubbly. This is the kind of conditioning that we're looking for bikini. So I thought this was a very, very good front shot. I really wouldn't change much about that pose or anything like that. I think she did a phenomenal job with that. And then once we get into the back pose, so here, what did I just do? Here we go. So here's Eureka from the back. So again, perfect conditioning here, right? Nice round, full delts, nice round, full glutes. She's got the hamstring tie-in, but they're not overly diced in. She's got that nice pop in her glutes. Excuse me. I might stand up a little taller in this back pose. She's sinking into the knees a little bit. That would be my one critique here. Is that kind of in between shots? I'm looking to see if maybe that's an in between shot or if that's her fully. No, that's her fully posed. So yeah, that would be my only critique here. I would just kind of try to straighten the knees a little bit. You don't have to lock them out, but it does look like she's sinking into them a little bit here. So I would just try to straighten them out just a touch so that we don't get that squatty look. And then the other thing I would look at too is the top of her suit is up a little bit too high. We're seeing that boniness up at the top. So I would pull the suit down just a little bit from the top so you don't see that shallow spot up at the top near her tailbone. Other than that, I wouldn't change anything really about the back. She could still use a little bit more glutes from the back. We all could, that's not necessarily true, but I'm just saying she could use a little bit more glute to get a little bit more projection and again, kind of hide that shallow spot up at the top. And maybe that's why she's bending her knees a little bit because she does need a little bit more density there and she's pulling it a little tighter by doing the knees. But yeah, this is again, an improved package for Eureka. So I would say just continue to kind of fill out the glutes a little bit as she goes into the Olympia. And again, I think this was a good, she definitely deserved the win here. So while again, I don't agree with a lot of the other placings, I do agree with this one. And yeah, it was not a weak lineup at all. That's why I was surprised about a lot of the placings that I saw. Yeah. So we're going to move on. To Miami. So I don't think anybody was surprised to see Ashlin win this one. It did come down to Ashlin and Alice, which is what we pretty much predicted. And then we had, pretty much everybody else. It looked about right. Jessica Neary, the third place one. I'm not familiar with her. I believe she's relatively new as a pro. We're going to look at them really quickly. So Roina ended up in fifth. Roina has been getting better as the shows have been going on. So she's been doing better and better. So let's take a look at her. Now, the one thing with Roina that I've always said, her conditioning is always something that she needs to be careful of. Her waistline tends to be blown out sometimes, but also her upper body overpowers her lower, which is crazy because she's got amazing glutes. But from the front, even in this shot right here, you can see that her upper body is way too wide for her lower body. So I think that this is a posing error. I think that she needs to be careful about, again, her delts being too big. To me, I think they probably posed her this way to try to make her waistline look smaller, but in the process of doing that, it also makes her look unbalanced. It makes her look top heavy versus balanced from top to bottom. So, I would like to see this just tweaked. And part of this is I think she just needs to lay off the upper body training. I think if she did that, I think she would probably be a little bit better balanced. It's hard because I know they're trying to minimize the waistline too. And the way to do that is to bring the upper body up, makes the waistline look smaller. So I get that. But got to find a better balance, I would say. And when we look at the back shot, so again, glutes look great. Conditioning is a little soft. I would say she probably needs a little bit more legs even here. And this might be in between because it doesn't look like her arms are set. I did go to what looked like a fully posed back pose, but let's see if maybe there's another one. Nope, there's not. That's as close as we got to fully posed. So, yeah, I would say I don't think this is her full back pose, so I don't want to judge her upper body here because I can see her hands on the outside. You don't ever want to see your hands. And Roina is she's been competing forever. She knows that part of it. So I think this is just an in-between shot. So perhaps that's why she's kind of sinking into her knees a little bit here too. I don't think she's fully posed here, but I would say maybe just a little bit more legs here. She's got great glutes. She's always had great glutes. But I think a little bit more legs, a little bit more density to the glutes. Just in general, I think her overall physique needs a little bit more density other than her shoulders. So that's what I would say in regard to her shape. She's always got a great shape, but the sport has evolved. So it's kind of going faster than what her body is progressing. So if she wants to get back up into those top spots, she's going to need to grow. So we have Allie next. This was Allie's first show back. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is not Allie's first show back out. I think Pittsburgh was Allie's first show back out, if I'm not mistaken. Did a new colored suit with the blue. It's okay. I just like her red. I mean, when you got a signature color, stick with it. Sometimes you got to try something new. And just kind of see how it goes, that kind of thing. But I would just stick with what works at this point. I think she did come back out at finals in red. That's what I would say. That I would stick with. Really, all I can say here is she could stand to be a little bit round, a little bit fuller. She looks a little bit like she didn't completely fill out here. I can see it in her shoulders and in her waistline. Her waistline looks a little bit hard to me. So I know one of the things that she's battled is her waistline being tight enough. So I think they're trying to find that right balance where she keeps her waistline tight, but she can be full at the same time. So it looks like she just kind of undershot this a little bit, needs to fill out just a touch. Let's look at her back shot. And I think this is in between as well. I don't think she's fully posed. There we go. Fully posed right here. So yeah, so to me, again, this is a great shape, but it just looks like she's not quite full enough. She needs to fill out just a little bit more. This conditioning is right there, but we're just lacking a little bit of that pop. So yeah, it looks like they probably undershot it, trying to keep her waistline tight. And in the process, just missed the mark on the fullness. So that's what I would say. She just needs to fill out a touch. And then, so this is the newbie, the Jessica. Everybody was talking about her. I have not seen her before. I see people were saying this is her second show. Dawn just said this is her second pro show. Great shape. So what I would say here, fullness is good. Conditioning is good. She maybe needs to open up a little bit more on that upper body. She looks a little bit closed down on this pose. I think she could pose it a little bit bigger. That would help bring her waistline in a little bit more. But this is a nice full pop to her physique right here. She's got some really nice roundness to her muscle. And this is the difference that we were just talking about Allie lacking that. Jessica's got it. This looks really good as far as that conditioning is concerned and that fullness, that roundness that we were lacking for Allie. And then let's take a look at her back shot. It was Jessica, right? Yeah, just to make sure I got her name right. Jessica. So again, going back to the fullness aspect, and we're looking at her back shot here, okay? Fullness is great. Really nice round pop here. Perfect conditioning. Again, tie-ins, not too tight from the back, just enough, but that pop is really good. That pop right there is what we're looking for. She's got some nice calves on her too. Overall, really well balanced. Like I said, all I would really change with her is opening up that front pose a little bit. I think her conditioning and her shape and her size and stuff is right on point. I would just open up the front pose a little. And then we have Alice, who came in second. And I think we all kind of knew this was going to be the case. We thought that it was going to be between Alice and Ashlin. So nobody was really surprised by that. So Alice still needs to relax this front pose a bit. She did do that in her last show. Here, not so much. All of her poses look like her arm is kind of flying away. And when you do that, it diminishes your shoulder cap. It really diminishes that V taper. You can see like we're losing the shoulder here. If you're one of my posing clients, you know I tell you to relax that arm, relax that arm, relax that arm. There's a reason for that. That's what fills that shoulder out, right? So I know what happens when you try to twist into these front pose. When you twist in the front pose, you pull and yank with that arm, and this is what happens right here. You know what I mean? So she just needs to work on relaxing. That's it. This front pose, I mean, she's got a teeny tiny little waistline. Her conditioning looks really, really good here. I could see her. She looks a little bit light with the tan, but these photos are also kind of washed out. So it could just be the photo, but I could say maybe she could be a little bit darker on her tan. But in general, I would just say relax that arm. That's the biggest thing she's got to do is just relax that arm and hit that front pose really confidently. And I think she'd be good, you know? And then from the back, again, really nice round full pop from the back. I like the way she's wearing this back of her suit. Again, we talked about this with Eureka, where you saw a little bit of her tailbone in the back. You don't see that here with Alice, which is perfect. That actually makes you look a lot rounder. So that's actually really, really good right here. To me, the hair is a little messy. I'd like to see this cleaned up from the back. It looks a little frizzy to me. It's also Miami, so that could be part of the reason why that was an issue. Miami's ridiculous when it comes to humidity. And then I would also open up the back a little bit more. Now, I don't know if maybe they did that to try to balance her upper body with her lower, but her back looks like it's squeezed off a little bit too much. I just like to see more V taper there, and I know she's got more. So I just like to see more V taper from the back. Projection on the glutes looks good, but I just like to fix that upper body. That upper half of her back pose needs to be fixed. In general, upper half of her front pose, upper half of her back pose are what needs to be fixed. The rest is good. Let's see. Last but not least, we have Ashlin, who won. And again, I don't think anybody was surprised about this. She's been knocking on the door every one of these shows. She did do a different suit color this time. She typically does that teal, turquoisey kind of color, light blue, whatever you want to call it. She did a darker blue this time, which I thought was nice. I do think that this was a really good pack for her. Her waistline's nice and tight. She's nice and round and full. Legs look good from the front here too. You know, that's one of the critiques, that she needs to build her legs up a little bit more. What I noticed at the Arnold was that her shoulders were a little overpowering. I don't see that here. I think this is a really good balance for her, top to bottom for the front pose. And again, fullness is right on point. And let's find a back pose. Where's her back pose at? Here we go. So back pose looks really good. Okay. I would relax the arms a little. Just relax them down. Just let them breathe. It's almost like she's yanked up through her traps. Maybe this is in between shot. I'll give her that. Let's take a look. See if maybe this is in between. Nope. That's her pose. So I just relax that a little bit. Let those elbows come down a touch. She does look better balanced from the back now than she did at Pittsburgh. So she's got her toes out a little bit, that opened the legs up. She still needs to grow a little bit more legs. And I try to build a little bit of calves back here too. She just looks like she's all glutes from the back a lot of the times. But this conditioning is on point. Her projection on her glutes is on point. Again, looking at the hamstring tie-ins, they're there, but they're not sharp and tied in that way. So, I think this is actually really a very good package for her. And again, I don't think anybody's surprised that she won this. I don't know what her plans are from this point out, if she's going to still compete or if she's going to just to kind of take some time and get ready for the Olympia. But that's what I would do if I was her, and just kind of work on building up the legs from the back. That's what I would do if I was her. So my 2 cents. But I did agree with this show as far as the placings were concerned, and I agreed with the winner as well. Lastly, we're going to take a look really quickly at the Legion's list for this weekend. So go ahead and type into the comments if there's somebody in particular that you're looking forward to seeing. I think that we need to look at, so Kimber Bonilla hasn't been on stage in a little while. I think she's one to pay attention to. Hannah has not been on stage in years. I'm really excited to see her get back up there. Savannah is another one to be looking at. Brittany was just at Optimum, but like I said before, there was a lot of things in that show I wasn't really on board with. I will say from what I saw from Brittany, I think that she needs more legs. I would say watch out for Peyton as well. Obviously, Alice and Eureka. Who else on here? Tiana. Who you got for the win for this coming weekend? I am going to say it's going to come down to Eureka and Alice. If Alice can fix her posing issues, I think she's really going to be neck and neck with Eureka. I think they both have really good shape. I think they both have really good fullness. I think the only thing that's holding Alice back at this point is her posing. So, and her, I would say her fix her hair. You know what I mean? So those are those are my top two. What do you guys think? Type into the comments. Tell me who you think is going to take the win this weekend. You guys know I always kind of go for the underdog on these situations. So I'm going to put Alice in the first place position just so that she can get that Olympia qualification. But it's going to depend on if she can get those poses to hit right. What do you guys think? And while we're waiting for the answers to come in, your thoughts, your comments. If you look up in the corner there, you see my QR code for our free Fit Model webinar. So if you are considering competing in Fit Model, or you are competing in Fit Model, this is a great webinar for you to get all the information you need on the division. Go ahead and sign up. It is free, and it's tomorrow evening. Yeah, if we're going with who's got momentum, that would be Eureka. If we're going with who I want to see qualify, so because she doesn't have a qualification yet, let's say Alice. Alice has been knocking at the door too. So anybody else got anything they want to throw in there and add in there? I'll leave this open for like another 2 minutes. And yeah, I was definitely very surprised at the results at Optimum, I'm just going to be honest. So anybody else want to put their 2 cents in? I know we're on a delay here. We only got one vote, and that's for Alice. What else you guys got? Who do you think is going to take the win here? Somebody say somebody who I haven't said. I think Alice and Eureka, but you could also see Brittany come out and get the win like she did last year. Yep, we can see. I mean, any one of these girls I just mentioned could come out and win this. Going based on record and going based on momentum, we got to go with Alice or Eureka. But like I said, every week is a new week. Yep. So it's going to be interesting to see how this show is judged. I know this is always a big show every year. It's usually in the fall. It's usually not now. It's usually in the fall. So this is interesting to have it this time of year. All right. Well, I know that some of you guys also want me to do European shows and stuff like that. I just don't really do that very often. because we don't have a lot of good coverage for it. And if it's not like a top judge or we don't have any top names in it, then I don't really cover it all that much because, again, we see the European girls come over here to the U.S. and get kind of their ass handed to them, just being honest. It just happens. So we only have so many hours in the day. We're going to follow the top people. There is also a natural pro show this coming weekend, but there's no names in it that I recognize. And all of the natural pro shows, if you win a natural pro show right now, what it does is it qualifies you for Ben Weider. So it does not qualify you for the Olympia. I think there's only like 4 or 5 girls in it or something like that. So these natural shows, we're not really going into depth on them. We will once Ben Weider comes around, but that'll be all the winners from all these natural shows that we're seeing. So there's one in Tennessee this weekend as well. But with that, you guys, like I said, if you're considering competing in Fit Model, get onto our free webinar tomorrow night. You'll learn a lot. Just go ahead and scan that, get your email in, and you're set up. Okay. So with that, you guys, let's see what happens this weekend. Let's see if we have a new Olympia qualified athlete, or maybe Eureka will win it again, make it a twofer. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. See what happens. All right, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and we'll be back here again.